Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a king who lived in a grand palace. His kingdom was vast, his wealth unimaginable, and his power uncontested. Every command he gave was immediately obeyed, and the people feared and admired him. The king believed that no one could rival his wisdom or strength. He thought that everything he possessed, from riches to control over the land, made him the most fortunate man in the world. Yet, despite all his wealth and power, the king's heart was often restless. He felt a void within him and unease that could not be explained. He was surrounded by luxury, yet something was missing. The king's life was detached from the true essence of living. He was far removed from the lives of the common people who work hard to survive each day. One day, while on a hunting expedition in the dense forest of his kingdom, the king's path crossed that of an old woman. She lived in a small, humble hut far from the luxury of the palace. The old woman spent her days crafting bangles by hand, which she sold at the nearby market to earn a major living. Her life seemed hard and unremarkable, yet the king noticed something unusual. Despite her simple and difficult life, she appeared content and happy. Curious, the king approached the old woman and asked, "Your life seems difficult, yet you are so happy. Why is that? How do you find joy in such a simple existence?" The old woman looked up at him and smiled warmly. Her eyes sparkled with wisdom as she replied, "Your Majesty, happiness is not found in wealth, power, or positions. It lies in content and gratitude. I have little, but I am grateful for everything I have. I do not long for what I do not possess, and in this I find peace." The king, spectacle and thinking she was merely making excuses for her modest life, decided to test her wisdom. He believed that his power and riches were the true source of happiness. He said, "If you can answer this question, I will reward you with gold and silver. Tell me, what is the greatest problem in the world?" The old woman paused for a moment, her thoughtful gaze never leaving the king. Then, with great clarity, she spoke, "Your Majesty, the great problem in the world is greed. No matter how much a person gains, their heart is never satisfied. They always desire more, and this desire never lets them find true peace. But if a person learns to be content with what they have, they will always be happy regardless of their circumstances." The king was stunned by her answer. For the first time, he began to question his own restlessness and discontent. He realized that it was his own greed that had caused him unease. He had everything, yet he was never satisfied. His heart always yearned for more, more power, more wealth, and more control. The king's perspective began to change that day. He returned to his palace, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer viewed his wealth and power as the keys to happiness. He began to understand that true peace could only be found through contentment and gratitude. From that moment on, the king made a vow to lead with compassion and humility. He started to care for the true needs of the people, ensuring that they had what they needed to live with dignity and happiness. He worked to reduce his own desires, finding joy in the present moment rather than constantly seeking more. The old woman's wisdom had taught the king the greatest lesson of all.